good afternoon, and welcome to the special edition of RCB Radio Sports Show, live at 92.5 and 94.8 FM and online at www.rcb.ie. I'm delighted this evening to be joined by Jason Moloney as he bids for world domination in terms of the bantamweight title decider on the 31st of October in Las Vegas. He goes up against the undefeated Naoya Inoue, who has disposed of everyone that has come before him so far. Jason has a record of 21 wins, just a solitary defeat, 18 knockouts. He goes up against Naoya Inoue, who has 19 fights, 16 knockouts. I suppose, Jason, it's the fight you wanted in terms of this division. It's the fight that everyone wants to see in terms of this division, and around the corner, I suppose, are there butterflies beginning to start in the stomach, or are you feeling calm and relaxed about it?
I'm feeling great, Jim. Thanks for having me on the show, mate. I'm feeling great. Like you said, this is the fight that I've always wanted. It's my dream to become the number one bantamweight in the world, and the only way to do that is to beat the best. And that's what I'm going to do on October 31 against Inoue. I've dedicated my whole life to this sport, and this is the moment where it all pays off. I'll beat Inoue and I'll become the number one bantamweight in the world, hold 3 of the belts, and change my life forever.
Yeah, I suppose in terms of the task at hand, Jason, you're looking at, I suppose, probably people rank one of the best champions in the last decade or so. What we've seen about champions, they're there to be taken and there to be fallen. We saw the great Vasily Lomachenko only last week. Nobody thought he was undefeatable. No one thought they could lay a glove on him. We saw with Deontay Wilder as well, when Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. So everyone's got their maker, as the saying goes, and everyone's got their Achilles heel. And you feel confident that you are Naoya Inoue's Achilles heel.
Yeah, that's 100% right, mate. Everybody can be beaten, and I respect every fighter that steps through the ropes, but I don't fear anyone, and I don't think anyone works harder than me. I don't think anyone makes more sacrifices than I do, and I believe I can match it and beat anyone in the division. So this is my chance to prove that. And like you said, watching on the weekend and seeing someone like Lomachenko lose, and, seeing all these guys that some people once thought were these unbeatable, invincible people, they're not. Everyone's got a weakness. Everyone can be beaten. They're just another man with 2 arms and 2 legs. You just got to be good enough, and you got to be brave enough to take the risks. And I believe I am. I'm willing to fight anyone in the world. And I believe that at my best, I can beat anyone in my division.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jason, in terms of looking back in terms of boxing, you'd have sort of prolific sort of amateur status as well. You fought one of Ireland's own there in the past in Michael Conlan, and you had sort of thrilling place. What are your memories of coming up against Mick? Mick has gone on to have had a great career as well, obviously, and probably one of Ireland's world-renowned sort of boxers as well. So you hold the bragging rights over Mick. Was probably one of the top had.
Yeah, mate, that's a good scalp to have, isn't it? I've got a lot of respect for Mick, and he's a great man. I've seen him quite a few times since our fight, and we get along well. But yeah, that was the best win of my amateur career. Obviously, I didn't go on to achieve the things that Mick did. No Olympic medals and whatnot, and no world championships like Mick went on to achieve. So it's a great scalp for me to have. And yeah, he's a great man. I'll get along with him well and wish him the best. Hopefully he's not far off winning a world title as a professional as well.
Yeah, I suppose, Jason, in terms of your boxing sort of background, where does the love come from? Is it something that's always been in the family? Is it driven by your father or uncles or relatives? Or how did this boxing venture come about for you to begin with?
Pretty well just me and my twin brother. I'm a twin for those that don't know. And growing up, there was 3 boys in the family and plenty of fights and plenty of arguments and plenty of fights. No one else in my family, my father, my uncles, no one boxed. But we just picked it up and fell in love with it. We asked our dad and nagged him to take me down to the local boxing gym, and eventually he did. And that was it. with no turning back. Me and my brother just fell in love with the sport and wanted to be the best that we could be.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jason, how's the training camp going in? I know everything with the COVID situation throughout the world. I suppose it's very hard probably to get in really top quality sparring partners as well. I suppose given the challenge that you're up against in a new way, I suppose you need a mix of everything from really fast start to fighters that really throw rapid sort of punches into sort of fighters as well that have that bit of a knockout sort of punch in them as well to sort of mirror sort of Naoya's strengths. I suppose the COVID situation in Australia is probably better than what it is here in Ireland, anyway, that's for sure, and probably in Europe. But how difficult has it been to get sort of sparring partners? I suppose you are based in, you're out in the US at the moment as well. So have you been able to get good guys into your camp?
Yeah, the whole COVID thing really hasn't affected my training camp too much at all, which has been great. Very fortunate. It's pretty well under control in Australia. So I had a great camp in Australia, and then coming over here to Las Vegas. I've been here for 2.5 weeks now, and we've got 5 different sparring partners lined up over here who all bring me, something different: a bit of speed, bit of power. They're all sort of watching a lot of Inoue and trying to mimic him and replicate his style. And I'm getting a real good mix. I've had a great training camp, great sparring, great preparation. So even though with the whole situation with COVID, there's absolutely no excuses. I've had the best training camp in my career and looking forward to showing the results of that in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, and Jason, one thing that sort of struck me about Neo is the speed in the ring. I suppose his speed is probably one of the sort of fastest sort of fighters to get around the ring in terms of his speed and movement. And is that sort of really to try and wind him and take go for the body and just try and take away that sort of leg speed out of him? Because obviously, if he's not going so fast, he's probably an easier target to hit. But definitely in his last fight, what struck me against Rodriguez was just the speed. Rodriguez just couldn't handle the speed in terms of the pace that he was setting.
Yeah, that's right, mate. I mean, he's got some great attributes, good speed, good power, which I believe I have both of them too. But it's all about being smart. There is opportunities there, as Nonito Donaire showed in their last fight. There's plenty of opportunities there. He is there to be hit because he is so aggressive and backs his power so much. So I just got to take those opportunities. I've got to be smart enough and use my boxing IQ and use my timing to catch him. But like I said, he's a great fighter. I respect him, but I believe I can match him and beat him on every level. I've got good speed and good power too, and I just believe that I want this more than he does, and that's where it's going to show.
I suppose, Jason, with that surname Moloney, there has to be some aspect of Irish origin in that sort of surname. And do you have any sort of people wearing the green, white, and gold relatives on the Irish coast?
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, got the Irish blood in me, which goes way back. Hopefully, there's a lot of Irish supporters following me over there. From what I believe is my grandfather, great was must have done something wrong, and I was a part of the first fleet of convicts that was shipped over to Australia, and we've been there ever since. But the Moloney heritage runs deep in Ireland, and hopefully you're all supporting me over there, and hopefully I'll do you all proud on the 31st when I win these world titles.
Yeah, I suppose, Jason, with that in mind, I suppose when the COVID situation does come to pass, you can obviously visit Ireland and show off those world titles in appearance, and maybe fight Mick here on Irish shores, or even the Carl Frampton or someone like that in terms of a possible sort of future fight. But in terms of all the preparation leading into 2 weeks of the fight, what is all the hard work basically over with now? Is it just mainly mental stuff and focusing the mind and watching what you eat in terms of getting the right supplements and nutrition into yourselves after workouts and trying to keep that level of, I suppose, sharpness up, is it?
Yeah, that's it, mate. I've worked extremely hard for this fight and had a long training camp. So we are going to start winding things back and freshening up and bringing on that sharpness. But I've still got 2 or 3 sparring sessions left to go. Still a bit of hard work to get through, but mate, I feel great. If the fight was tomorrow, I'm ready to go. So, like you said, it's just about putting on the finishing touches, the icing on the cake, so to speak. But we're all ready to go, and I'm sure this is going to be the best performance of my life.
Yeah, and I suppose one thing that struck me, Jason, in terms of looking at your knockout percentage, 18 knockouts, and looking at Naoya's knockout, 16 knockouts, both really two guys that get their opponents out of the ring fairly fast. And I suppose in terms of, in some scenarios, we always say 2 knockout punchers doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an early start to finish within 5 rounds. So in terms of going the long haul distance, is that something that you're prepared for, and having the finals, the final sort of strength and power, and that sort of the 12th round in the legs and in the hands as well? I suppose that having it in the legs is important as well, that your ability and sustainability, because obviously people will look at this fight and say they'd be surprised if it goes past 6 or 7, but are you fully prepared and fully expected to, if it does come to pass, go the full 12 rounds?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my greatest assets is my fitness. You know, my engine. I can always go 12 rounds flat out at a pace that I don't think anyone in the division can keep up with. So that's one of my greatest assets, and definitely I'm 100% ready to go 12 rounds if that's what it takes. But yeah, one thing that always gets spoken about is Inoue's power, but people don't seem to, I guess, value my power. And I'm looking forward to showing the power that I pack in my punches, and I'm very confident if I catch him clean that I'll knock him out.
Yeah, I suppose, Jason, in terms of division, I suppose, in terms of both belts are on display for the winner, and I know Anisha Donaire is fighting in a world title for the other sort of belt in that division. So obviously, if it does come to pass and you do defeat Naoya, would you be then obviously looking for that unification bout with Nanisha, if Nanisha is successful in winning that, and try and unify the division?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we've got to get past Inouye first, but the goal is to be the #1 bantamweight for a long, long time. So we'll get past Inouye, cement my spot on top of the division, and then for the next 8, 9 years, however long I box, I plan to stay at the top of this division and hold all 5 belts that are on offer, and not lose again for the rest of my career, and show everyone who the best bantamweight in the world is.
Yeah, and Jason, you mentioned the sport here in Ireland in terms of Ireland sort of connection. I suppose you are fighting in US sort of shores, and in terms of the whole support back home in terms of Australia, what has it been like in terms of coverage and media sort of coverage, in terms of it is a world title fight, it is one of the biggest fights in sort of boxing for your home country? Do you feel that sort of support, that sort of, what is that 12th man on your shoulder?
Yeah, I am. Unfortunately, boxing's not as big in Australia as it is in Ireland, so we don't quite get the media coverage that we probably deserve. But I've had some great support, and everyone around me, all my friends and family, and so many people reaching out from around Australia that are sending me lots of messages and lots of support. And it's going to be very special bringing these belts home to Australia and enjoying and celebrating with everyone who's supported me since day one.
I'm not going to ask you, Jason, before let you go. I'm not going to ask you in terms of about the fight itself, in terms of tactics and sort of breakdowns. But you said you spotted 1 or 2 things in Naoya that you think are there to be got at. And in terms of your looking and studying of the fights and doing the research with your management, are you just happy that you started every angle covered and every aspect covered in terms of scouting and Naoya in terms of previous fights, and that you fully know what to expect from him at all times in the ring?
Yeah, that's right. We've done a lot of study, a lot of homework, me and my coach, and we've put together a really good game plan. Obviously, it's there's plan A, plan B, plan C. Like, you can't expect the fight to go exactly as planned at all times, but we're ready for anything. And I want this more than he does. I know that. So whatever it takes, I'm willing to go there and I'll do whatever it takes to win this fight and have those belts around my waist.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jason, lastly, before I let you go, if you are successful, and hopefully you will be successful on October the 31st against Naoya Inoue, could we see possibly 2 or 3 years down the line you coming to Croke Park in Dublin in front of 80,000 people and a sort of title showdown with Mike Conlan? Would that be something you're up for? And if you are up for it, would you be your 2 thumbs up to us there so we can see it there?
Mate, I'm always up for anything. I'm up for anything. But mate, I would absolutely love to get over to Ireland one day. That's certainly something on my bucket list, to get over there and see where I come from, see where the Moloney name that I wear proud comes from, and my heritage. I'd love to get over there. The Irish people are great people, and yeah, would love to get over there and mingle. And if we can put on a super fight like that, then absolutely, let's do it.
Jason, best of luck on October the 31st in the MGM Las Vegas, fighting Naoya Inoue for the IBO and the WBA Bantamweight Championship of the World. Jason, best of luck, and we'll let you get back to your preparation. Cheers, Jason.
Really appreciate it, Jim. Thanks for having me, mate.